Okay, so on the last couple of worksheets, Mark, we were discussing electron configurations and orbital diagrams. And these are different ways of showing where the electron is located. So the electron configuration is 1s1. Orbital diagrams are when you're filling in the circles. One thing we didn't do was write out the quantum numbers. The quantum numbers, an analogy is writing out an address for a letter. So if you're going to write a letter,
Strauss has got a cigarette.
yeah, much better.
Chill.
If you're going to write out a letter, you need to put some information on that letter, Max. And each bit of information narrows it more and more and more so that you know where to send the letter. So it's my brother's birthday. So I'm going to send him a birthday card. And he lives in the United States. So that doesn't help us too much. It's a big country. So the first bit of information is the state. He lives in California. So now we've narrowed it down there, Allison. 1 out of 50 states, we know where to look. California. Be somewhere in that state. But that's still a big state. So on our letter, we narrow it even more. We put city, LA. So now we know a more narrow place to look. But still, LA is a pretty big city. So we go to the street, which is
Did your brother actually live in California?
no,
You have a
Sunset
brother?
Boulevard. So now you got even a more specific location. But Sunset Boulevard is like miles long. So wandering up and down the street looking for Mr. Strauss isn't going to help. So what you have to do to really narrow it down is you need the house number. And at 2110 Sunset Boulevard. By the way, Fletcher, I just made that address up, okay? So I have no idea what that's an address for. 2110, now you know exactly where to go, okay? Gives us the exact location. At each step, it gets more and more specific, and each step as you go back out, it gets more and more general. So quantum numbers is kind of doing the same thing. It's telling us where the electron is and what the values for that electron are. But instead of state, city, street, and house numbers, quantum numbers, we start with the energy level. And the energy level is N. So let's start with something easy. Why don't we just start with figure out where to put it. 1s1. So N is the energy level. And what, Kim, are the values for the energy level? What are the values? Sure. 1 to infinity.
Yeah.
Because N can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are the values of N. Because waves come in whole numbers. So if I'm gonna write out the quantum numbers for the 1s1, what is my energy level there, Kim? What energy level is that electron in? The first energy level. After energy level, then we go on to the sublevel, also known as the angular momentum value. And this number goes from 0 to n-1. So if n is 1, and I plug in 1 for n, that means that L must be 0 as well. So for that electron, n is 1, my sublevel is a value of 0. Or Alicia, you can just memorize that if you're in an S sublevel, the value is always 0. Bless you. After the sublevel comes the orbital value, also known as the magnetic field number,
Is that an M or ML?
M subscript L. So that's the orbital value, but it's also called the angular momentum value. And this goes from L to negative L. So if L is 0, M sub L must be 0. And then the last quantum number, Haley, is the spin, M sub S. And the values are +1/2 or -1. So we can't tell the spin from the electron configuration, but we can tell the spin from the orbital diagram. Is my spin up or is my spin down? Up. So generally we say you are +1/2 if you're spin up, and you are -1/2 if you're spin down. Now, for this electron, does it have to be spin down?
No.
Could it be spin up? Yeah, and it's actually will spend 50% of its time as spin down. We will spend 50% of its time as spin up. So what we have to do with our quantum numbers then is we would say +1/2 or -1/2, because it could be either. And in fact, it spends 50% of its time as both. So there are the quantum numbers for 1s1. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to transfer that information onto our orbital diagram worksheet.